With that said, we can dive on in to the bottom left-hand corner where the red Zerg player is Dark from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, and in the top right, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid is Clem. Best of 5 in the semi-finals, of course. Rogue waits in the grand final for the winner of this. That will be a best of 7 for whoever makes it through to there. Should be an awesome ending to the day if you just join us. Well, I mean, honestly, in my eyes, Dark Clem is a lineup you never want to miss, so enjoy. And of course, with Rogue in the finals, even if, I mean, whoever plays, right? If Clem plays Rogue, that's another kind of talking point of his TVZ. If Dark plays Rogue, well, we know they've played so much as of late. And they know that they have just had a big ZvZ rivalry in the year of 2021. So, honestly, it would be somewhat fitting to see those two play each other as well. So, a lot of stuff right there, a lot of fun to be had. I am rather excited to see how this turns out and to see who is advancing on through to the finals here in this $1,600 tournament. If you are watching this game on YouTube, I would just like to take a moment to, of course, say thank you for supporting the YouTube and watching. If you do enjoy the video, do consider leaving a like. And of course, if you're really enjoying the content on the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell so you get your notifications, and watch our videos on a regular daily basis, so that you can keep up with all of the best StarCraft 2 happening on WardiTV and kind of in the world. We do cast other stuff as well, so do check that out. So, as we get ourselves into a first map here, we obviously have Glitter and Ashes, so it's Dark's map pick. I believe the server preference for this is West, Central, West, Central, West. I mentioned this because I was actually replying to some YouTube comments this morning, and they were talking about, what do you know, how come Clem just can't beat Rogue and Dark, but he can beat Raynor? And obviously the first answer to that is he couldn't beat Raynor recently at all. In fact, his TVZ just really dropped off a cliff, I think it's fair to say. And it's still good, it's just it was so good before that the comparison was... you know, the contrast in that was so ridiculously high. So, I think the answer really just was, well, his TVZ just dropped off. Maybe it's the maps, maybe it's just a bit of confidence. But the other factor that I did mention is, you know, he always looked a bit shaky against some of the Korean Zergs because his style is fast-paced, it's action-packed. And you're playing on the NA server where you've got ping, well, in my eyes, and, you know, I'm a Terran, but I don't think I'm too biased when I say, I think that the playstyle of Clem is probably one of the hardest to transfer over to the NA server where you're playing with ping and there's a delay, because how often do we see Clem just picking up units in time and just pulling back something at the right moment, you know? When it's so micro-focused and aggressive and just non-stop, I think that is affected by ping a lot more than a lot of other styles. And honestly, lately we've even seen Clem adjust a little bit, right? He has been making some different plays. He has been doing some different things in TVZ. He's been slowing it down, and especially on the NA server, I feel like he's taken a much more conservative approach to some of his games when it comes to playing versus the Korean Zergs. And so I find that kind of interesting too, because that almost backs it up as well, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to go for this fast-paced action on this laggier server. I want to slow it down a little bit, play it a little bit more chilled out, and we can go from there. Reaper pulling back a little as we see circling speed coming up. Few drones just transferring down to the natural, and just going to be having our starport finishing up on the main base. Our third CC will get ready to lift off and drop down to the low ground. And Clem just playing a pretty standard open. And intrigued to see what Dark does. Obviously, this will be his map pick. Glitter and Ashes, pretty much the first one Zerg wants to play on when Pride of Altaris is vetoed. Big map. And I wonder if he just plays a Ling Bane. The last couple of times I believe Dark played Clem on this map, he went for basically like a 2-2 Ling Bane all-in. So 2-2 kicks in, he's on pure Ling Bane, and he just ran at Clem, and Clem just wasn't ready for it at all, and just didn't have what he needed to deal with that. So wondering if we do see Ling Bane from Dark here again, or maybe we will see some of the typical Dark Roach styles. No Roach Roaring yet, so if you are going to play Roaches, Dark would have usually had a Roach Roaring down by now. So this looks like probably just a lair first into, you know, Baneling Nest, and then upgrades behind it. As I say that, he drops down the double evos. I was just looking at his gas, and he already has that gas kind of cranking up a bit, but I guess he still is only on one gas for now. Second gas only just coming up, so by the time these evos finish, double evolution chamber upgrades will be pretty much just about affordable. It's not like he's going to have too much spare gas, to be fair, so works out just to go early melee upgrades, in which case it is looking like he could play some very aggressive, quickly timed 2-2 Ling Bane. I like it. I mean, Maru said as well one time, he was like, you know, I really prefer it when Dark plays Roaches, because when Dark plays Roaches, because anytime he plays Ling Bane, it's so much harder to win the game. At least versus Roaches, I feel like I have a chance. Which is kind of funny because it feels like Dark has been the one to shoot himself in the foot a little bit because he's been the one who keeps on playing Roaches all the time. You know, he's been very adamant and almost stubborn about changing up from playing that kind of a style. So, just kind of funny to see that as a few Overlords continuing out, the melee upgrades are continuing in, and that's where we stand right now as 1-1 and Stimpack coming through. The few Hellions will pick off a group of those Zerglings, so they get picked off as well. Creep spread is going to get pushed out up the left-hand side. And we will maybe even scan over here. There's nothing around to stop. Or we just run into the natural expansion where there are not anything. There's not anything. No queens at all. Or Zerglings to deal with this. The Lings show up now, but already 8 drones dead. And honestly, a good amount of Hellions left. But the surrounds are starting to become pretty deadly. Killing off Hellions very quickly. Can we get 2 more drones here? 12. We should be able to get 1 more, right? He does get it at the end. 13 workers. Not a bad start. You know, it's one of those situations where Clem is going to be able to slow Dark down enough that giving up the map control is probably worth it, because yes, you're missing your map control, yes, you're missing your defense against counters a little bit, and maybe Dark can get something done here, but the Banshees show up as well, and I think Clem's plan overall is he wants to just get in, do early damage, and just start pushing. Yes, it's a very large map, so those momentum-based pushes do get slowed down just naturally a bit, but I think he really believes that that's going to be his best chance at winning here, because if he doesn't get damage done like that and get going early, he's going to be stuck in a very, very long game against Dark, who is obviously pretty terrifying when it comes to the late game as well. Couple drones going down, a few of them falling as the Banshees escape away through the bottom side. Just going to be seeing a 4th base coming up the left, as you do see some Banes rolling in here. They get a couple of Mules, 6 SCVs going down, so some decent counterattacks from Dark. Clem, of course, has the Marines there, so, you know, it should never be too much damage being taken. He brings the Banshees back out, they'll get repaired and get ready to go again. Retention of units is something we always praise Clem for, usually. Obviously, he did dive bomb in with those Hellions, but stuff like this, keeping the Banshees alive, getting them to come back later, just keeping them throughout the game. You know, if we had stats on how long does the average, like, Clem starport unit last versus, you know, in the first 5 minutes versus, like, anyone else, I feel like Clem's statistic there would be, like, record-setting, you know, by a huge margin, because he's just so good at it. This is not going to be a deeper raise, and even if he tried to, at that point, the units were blocking it as Lings get in. So nicely timed counterattack here from Dark. One of the things Clem's been struggling with when he's been playing Reynaud lately as well has been these counterattacks just showing up when he's just across the map and trying to deal damage. So Dark is putting a halter on Clem. He's morphing in 14 Banelings. Where actually are they? All to the top left. So they've got a bit of rolling to do to get down here as well. Say rolling, they don't even have Baneling speed yet, so Clem will trade quite well for the moment. A lot of Lings going down right now. Finally, Baneling speed about to kick in. We're going to unburrow and reburrow the Lings. We target down multiple Overseers, and he already got a few Overlords with this as well. Look at Dark's supply block, as the Banelings will do go into that Widow Mine as well. Wow, that's actually going to be Dark. Heavily supply blocked. A lot of Overlords all the way. He just got unsupply blocked, and now he's still got 8 more. Starts up drones after this. As Clem backs up, these Widow Mines will be dealt with as a Spore Crawler moves into position, as Dark just didn't have the money, or probably even at this point, the Overlords to start up an Overseer. Actually, there's one there now, so he did start one up. It just was faster to get the Spore Crawler there, clean it up before it became more of an issue. So we now have a Widow Mine drop along the left-hand side, so Clem staying active, just trying to be annoying. Good split from Dark, well handled. 5 drones go down. Obviously, the biggest shame is he's not got a lot of units right now after the previous efforts, and so he can't clean this up. So 3 Widow Mines in the medevac survive. That's essentially 5 drone kills for 1 Widow Mine. That's a great trade as well, as Clem is ahead in supply and looking to just be good in this game so far. Dark also, again, by the way, +2 carapace, and that's a major, major upgrade to be missing out on. You're kind of meant to have +2 carapace, as the Lurker Den starts up on the bottom left-hand side as well. I mean, that's a major miss from Dark. Clem didn't start his 2-2 for a while, though, so at least he gains that, so you'll have +2 melee if he gains 1-1 for a little while at least. And I'm kind of just wondering, though, as Widow Mine gets a decent connection. Clem is obviously in a good lead right now. I'm just worried. Lurker's on the way, and I do feel like if Clem can't end this game soon, he will be forced into quite a late-game situation. And on Glitter and Ashes, I don't really care if the Terran's 20 supply up, because on Glitter and Ashes, it's just a long map. If Lurkers are out and you can't break the Lurkers, then it's going to be a very long game, and that 20 supply becomes very meaningless as time continues onward. Marines is moving around. Let's just head on down to the south side. Sieging up those couple libs. Widowmine's pressing forward as we'll stim on in. Queen getting chased away, and just going to be seeing the creep tumors having a little bit of trouble here as well, as the Liberators will siege again. Marines, Marauders pressing through, and just going to be seeing the army continuing forward with this. Just going to be seeing more Widowmines trying to burrow up, and where are they going to go? A lot of those lings on the upper right-hand side being picked away. The Banelings getting taken down. Just going to be seeing the Zergling getting picked off there, as well as the few Lurkers are going to be sitting out the front. We split up a little bit. A few Banes going down. We continue forward here. Queen's taking some damage, but Clem unable to break. At the same time, top side, we've got a Marine that's nibbling away at a hatchery. That's going to be seeing the Ghost Academy coming up as well on that main base, as we do have the Medivacs, Marines, and a Marauder just continuing through. And over on the left-hand side, we'll see what Clem wants to try and get done. Liberator will siege and already push a couple drones off that mineral line. Just going to be seeing how Widowmines will continue to burrow up at the moment. Again, more lings through the top side. Going to make a play toward this planetary fortress as, well, SCVs always can pull around and repair that, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue. We continue forwards here and creep spread. We'll take a few more shots. Lings back out over the far right. 11.5 minutes in. Clem still maintains his supply lead. Ghost coming up. This is the part of the game where obviously things do get slowed down. Run-bys like this is really an issue at the moment for Clem. I feel like he's gotten very bad at dealing, or not even dealing with run-bys, but just letting these things happen. And this doesn't turn out to be anything at all. But if you let that in like 2 or 3 times, it will at some point do something and be too much, you know? On the bottom side, the Bioforce looking to push around as well. Moving in from the right. Just going to be seeing the spores firing onto the Banshees. And Banshees, it's actually just going to die, so that's a little bit sloppy from Clem too. And he now loses 13 SCVs to Banelings on the other side of the map, so Dark has halted Clem's aggression and is really starting to put his own damage onto the map, so really making a stand here. There's going to be seeing the Lingbane coming through the top side. Bioforce and Ghost coming around. Just going to be seeing the Medivac and the Marauder out this top side as well. Just going to be seeing more of these bio units heading on over to the left. Banshee firing onto the hatchery, the one that's remaining. I mean, Clem's going for just a different attack in general. Maybe, you know, utilize this choke point as a way to push forward. Dark continues to expand top left, right? So he's not going through the bottom of the map, which would be kind of the normal way for this to go. Oh my god, Clem just ran into this. Banes are here. Now he gets surrounded because Dark already had units in the top left side. Clem must be wondering, where the hell did these come from? Why are your units in the super far top left? And honestly, I don't disagree. I was kind of wondering what Dark was doing, but it was perfect for a surround. Did he see that Clem was moving that way? I don't know if he did. He must have done, right? Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense. Unless he was setting up to just run by that position from the left and the right. That could be an answer as well. I'm just thinking what might have caused him to kind of put his units up there. Maybe he just wants to fight here in case Clem does come down the ramp anyway. Then it turns out to be an even better situation. I mean, he slows down this 5th base. Not a major deal. Clem can still keep that going. He re-expands to where he got cancelled before and also takes an expansion in the front himself. And again, I just sort of mentioned that this game slows down a lot, and this really starts to become a late-game duel. And this is, you know, a location or a part of the game in which Dark has really had the better of Clem as of late, quite frankly. He has been better at this stage of the game when they've gotten here. And a lot of the time they don't get here because Dark just overwhelms Clem earlier. I mean, I'm happy that we get to see something like this. Looks like we're going to have a nice long game here on Glitter and Ashes, but I am a little bit worried for Clem. But again, it's map 1 of a best of 5, right? And, you know, Glitter and Ashes is Dark's map pick. And for Clem to be being so competitive and to be getting into such a good spot anyway is already pretty nice. We're just going to set up some mines, just going to stim a few units around. I feel like he wants these Marauders to reach over and hit those spores as trying to line up maybe a sniper or so on a Lurker, so Clem just going to be able to fire from afar. But there's the counterattack from Dark, and that's a full mineral line. 14 SCVs and the planetary fortress going down in an instant. And this run-by continues up to the high ground where there's a lone Banshee to try and fight off this force. Widowmine's going to try and burrow up. Bane's already in the mineral line. This is going to be, wow, only a few more workers. 8 more on top of the 14 from before. It's a cancel on the command center that was building there, which maybe slows down the reinforcing 5th base or a base over here. He will move an orbital down there, but obviously you'd much rather have this be a planetary, because just an orbital, You can run a few Lings in there if Clem's not in position, and they can cause chaos. +3 melee, Adrenal Glands. SCVs are going to be, you know, basically dropping dead at the sight of the Zerglings. Morphed in more Banelings here to back around. I mean, there's a couple libs here, but they just can't blow up that many Banelings in time. Let's see how well they can do is... Now, they clicked into the mineral line, by the way. Now they will actually get through, and that's still going to be 4 more workers. Maybe not quite worth that amount of Banelings, but it's that constant pressure that works for Dark anyway. This time he didn't get much damage out of it. But he's continually saying to Clem, look, hey, look, buddy, attacks, you know, counterattack, again, another one. You know, you got to keep dealing with these, and that's obviously somewhat frustrating for Clem, who wants to try and put some pressure across the map himself. I mean, all these CCs coming up, obviously that's kind of where you want to be and where you need to be at this stage of the game. Plenty of orbitals, scans, mules, just having replacement command centers. You're going to need to keep on trying to expand repeatedly in this game. That's going to be a very important part of this. As our Lings are going to go for a run up the right-hand side and in towards this orbital command over here. Just going to see a bit of buy on the upper left. The Lings come through. Widowmine fires. And command center going to go over and land on the 3 o'clock position. Ghost is doing decently as the extra Lings continue through. +2 missiles coming up. +2 vehicle plating. All of this coming in as a little Widowmine shot at the front. Hits a few Banelings and a few Zerglings go down as well. A lot of units continue to move around here as you just have Bioforce continuing to collect together, +3 weapons on the engineering bay as well. Something else to keep in mind. Both those Widowmines will fall, and the army of Clem just pushing down the left-hand side, a little bit of a stim forward. A few of these Zerglings already going to be in some trouble. Game just settling. There's a few more Widowmines continuing through. Plenty of Banelings coming up. +2 missiles going to be here in a few moments' time. These Banelings are rallied onto a Ling, and it's just like this rally point's just moving, man, as the Lings are trying to fight the rocks. That was kind of funny, just to look at for a few moments. I don't think I've ever seen like Banelings rallied onto a Ling that's like patrolling around. I don't think I've ever seen that in StarCraft. Not that it's really impactful or important in any way. Not that it's really like cool and micro. just something I don't think I've ever really seen. I've seen Banelings be like rallied forward or somewhere, but just not onto a moving unit. So that the rally point was like moving around with it. It was kind of funky. CC's coming up. It's just going to be seeing our army is starting to make a move forward. Ling Bane is obviously ready to jump on this. You know, worth mentioning, this is still very Ling Bane focused from Dark. He's only got 6 lurkers and he's got 75 Banes on the map. In some ways, I almost feel like the Ghost kind of Clem is too high. 17 Ghosts is great and all, but this amount of Ling Bane is he makes 21 more Banelings. He's going to be on 87 Banelings. This amount of Banelings just overwhelms Ghosts. You know, a lot of the time you see Ghosts, they run away and they survive by the skin of their teeth as the last couple of Banes splash on them, but they can survive a couple hits. With this amount of Banelings, the Ghosts are going to be chased and chased and chased into a corner, and it's very likely they just blow up. The counter to Ghosts is actually just more Banelings, but usually it's hard to kind of trade out your Lurkers in a way that then you can get back to just going more Ling Bane, but Dark never went to a huge amount of Lurkers, and he just been on this Ling Bane army all this time, building it up and getting it higher. And a few of them go forward now. Widowmine's being set off, of course, and he's blown up a few of those as we go. Now Dark continues forward. How far do we go? Probably just to this base. He will run some units up this ramp where there's more Widowmines lying in wait. And that was kind of destructive on both sides, and they're still running up the ramp. Don't like that. Obviously running in from a choke point. When I'm talking about these Banelings, I'm talking about them running in from like an open area and surrounding a bit, not up to the chokiest part of the map. Does get 19 SCVs, obviously because it's an orbital, you can lift up and save the command center there, and that base will remain alive, just needs to be worked up once more. As Clem rebuilds a few SCVs, I wonder if Clem wants to get to a stage here as well, where he wants to just have a larger army. Like 50 workers is not bad for a Terran who has orbitals, etc. Because you can then also just have way more army on the map, and that makes every single trade more efficient for you. Because then, you know, you've just got so much more army that Dark has to fight into every time. I mean, Clem's making 8 more SCVs at one point there, so it seems like he does want to replenish the workers. So he will still have more army supply overall. Just felt that 50 workers was a little bit too low, would much rather be up towards 100. Bane coming up around the top. Widowmine gets blown up. Just going to see the Widowmine is going to fire. A couple Widowmine shots going off here and there. I mean, that Orbital Command might die. This time Clem didn't lift up. He's too busy microing the Ghost back on the right-hand side. It's a really good fight for Clem. Again, resources lost will remain at 12,000 difference. But Dark is able to get his Lurkers out of there before the Ghost can reconvene. How many Ghosts are left? 10. So we've lost 7 or so in the last few moments. Have a look at the units lost tab. Always interesting in these kind of games. There's mines or so going off here and there. And a few SCVs dying in that fight. 650 Zerglings going down, 40 Widow Mines, and almost 100 SCVs. 34 drones. I mean, Clem put his own amount of pressure on, but a lot of that was earlier in the game. Again, there was that point where it was kind of over here. It just felt like Clem was halted, and he hasn't really been aggressive since then. It's very much so been Dark picking the fights, and Clem trying to respond to them. Widow Mines looking for some good connections on the build-up into this fight, as Clem was kind of out on the map, so kind of awkward. The Lurks will zone him out from getting back to the high ground, but Lings alone don't trade very well, and another... I mean, this was a worse fight for Dark in a big way. He kills off 8 SCVs once more. Clem sniping down a few Lurkers. But Clem's unit, though, resources lost barely changed, and Dark went up by 1,000 or 2, so definitely a little bit of a better setup there from Clem. Definitely just able to trade a little nicer. As our turret's coming up, as a few changes got shot down. Bane's rallying out over the right-hand side. Lurkers off over to the left. And we get ready to come in from 2 directions here as our Ghosts and our Marines going to split back. This Palandry's about to finish. Can that help out at all, man? The Lurkers burrows, so probably doesn't make much of a difference, huh? This base is just very hard for Clem to hold. And it's kind of because Dark can come down the left ramp and the right ramp. I wonder if, as Dark's obviously been really good at abusing this position and pushing in, some of these fights haven't been great, but he's kept on denying the economy here. But is that not just a sign for Clem to maybe say, screw it, let's take this base? Because what does Dark do about this base? Is he maybe Lurkers on this side, fire over into the mineral line? Maybe that ain't pretty. Yeah, maybe that's an issue. Well, what about this far right base? Because there's only so many ways Dark can run in over there. It's kind of rough because right now Dark's taking advantage of the openness, which has chokes leading into it to get the Lurkers into play and to get this entire army here. Over here, it would be hard to get his army there, but once it's there, it's going to be harder to ever clean up because it's so super choky that then Clem will never really be able to do much fighting. And then maybe that's part of the factor is, did we just EMP the Widow Mines, I feel like? Not sure what happened there as we try and line up some more snipes. Just going to see smaller clumps of units from Dark rolling forwards. His bank has been subdued a lot recently, but Clem still has kind of bank issues of his own. He's going to struggle to rebuild shortly as he will clean up this round of Lurkers. Well, Dark, what have we got? We have got more Hydras on the map, so more Lurkers will be brought into play. That's going to be the last of his gas for now. He has minerals remaining. Obviously, he still has 70 drones, but it's not a super crazy count as Dark establishes in the top left corner. I would really love to see just a base over here, even if it's not like doing a lot, because I don't even think Dark has looked over there for a while, right? And if you just take that base and you just kind of let it kind of build up for a little while and it just gets settled and whatever else, I kind of like that as these few Ghosts coming through and getting a few Lings. I don't know, it just feels, I mean, this time the Lurkers would have run by it, but I feel like there's been plenty of time where you could have just had a base there, just drop some mules or something. It doesn't have to be a huge work account. Just somewhere else to mine from a little bit, just to help you out as we do see this Bioforce. Oh, I mean, kind of fighting for its life right here. Baneling's going down. Obviously, the Widow Mine felt like a friendly fire a little bit too. Remember, Clem has barely basically no money behind this, but neither does Dark. Clem's gonna have even less money now as the Lurkers get over here. Does that mean there's an opening, though? Can you actually fight down this ramp as Clem and maybe fight what is just Ling Bane? I mean, right now, it's just Zerglings. We snipe down the Queens. The Banes are going to be finishing soon, of course, as he's even sniping a few of the Banelings. And here we go. The Banelings are easy to lift up. Hydras are here as well, and they're going to start getting some medevacs. And I'm actually just GG's in that moment. Lurkers are still over here with the Liberator dealing with it. 40 SCVs left in the game. 100 army supply to 76. You know, I know Dark has money in the bank, but like right now his army kind of sucks. What does Clem have on the map though? 8 medevacs, 11 Marines, 10 Ghosts. It's not a lot of bio, but like it almost feels like it's. It feels like there's, I guess, a lot of Clem's stuff is in production. I almost want to say it was an early GG. And I don't know if that's true. Maybe these Hydras are about to kill off another medevac or two as well, right? And that's a factor. These Lurkers over here obviously burrowed up, and there's a Liberator overhead, and I don't know, honestly. Like, I mean, it's not like Doc has a lot of money in the bank. It's just Clem doesn't have a lot of mining right now. Maybe that's his biggest issue. This base isn't running. He's got to go deal with that, and so he just doesn't have any real income. And so he just doesn't believe he can get back up and running. Yeah, I can understand where the GG comes from. I would have expected it maybe like a minute from now. When this attack continued through, Clem really couldn't get new units out. This is more GG of the expectation of what's going to happen. And I always feel, well, what if you do just take that mega good fight? I see where it's coming from, but yeah, maybe we could have stuck in for the extra 30 seconds or so just to make sure you actually were, like, super dead in this situation. Which, yeah, he probably was, but yeah. I think I made my point. GG's. And Doc does take game 1. As in the top left-hand corner with a 1-0 lead, drawing it back into his favor after a bit of a rough early game. Our red Zerg player is Doc. Bottom right-hand side, our blue Terran from Team Liquid. This is Clem. Let's jump into map 2 of this best of 5. Semi-final matchup. Clem has gained a little doggy in his mineral line. It's a good look, doggo. I just thought it was funny. I just walked straight through. It's like, I'm an SCV now too, or I own this pack of SCVs. They've been mining minerals for me for decades. It's like, okay, back to my corner. The dog's dog was just like, I don't want to be here. No. I've seen how scary this guy is when he plays. Get me out of here. Okay, they're both hiding in the corner now. I'm with a bit of a funky opening. Double racks at the front. Suggests he's going to build like 3 Reapers or so. And then go from there. So a bit of a different opening. Something a little bit unique for sure. As we get this set up. Just going to see the first racks finishing soon. Second racks is on the way in. And just going to be seeing the Reaper is already on the way out. So Reaper is on the way. It's going to drop down a depot over on the other side. And just going to be having... Yeah, like I say, kind of funky. Opening like this on your own map pick. This is a nice little jump up spot as well. I'm just thinking like... You know, you do have... I mean, it's a good map for Reapers. It's just usually you don't need to use the Reapers because the map is good enough for you anyway. Dog will see the racks at the front, so already he knows it's going to be probably Reapers. And on top of that, he can maybe make a decision as to what he A wants to do to deal with the Reapers, and B, can he do something to punish these barracks? You know, if you play Roaches and you go for a counterattack, these racks will take a lot of hits, and maybe you can force one of them to lift, and maybe that delays the add-ons, maybe that delays an upgrade. That is a risk that Clem takes. Now, it's the right side of the map to protect the add-ons themselves. So, definitely a part of the question here. Let's just have ourselves a Reaper nibbling at the hatchery. Few Zerglings popping out, running back around the other side. Rotron is building in the corner of the main base, and the Zergling speed is already on its way up on the spawning pool. So bring that into play as a little grenade goes off. The Queen helps to push the Reaper back. Now the 2 Reapers together are going to move forward, and again, just a little bit of back and forth there to start us off. The Queen's continuing through and just going to be seeing the reactor coming up on the other side of the map. First Reaper dies. That's not meant to happen. That's a mistake big time from Clem. I mean, you already lose a Reaper. I mean, the power is meant to be having 3 Reapers now. We'll 2-shot these Lings and so on. I mean, it just feels so much weaker without a Reaper, and that's just a completely avoidable loss as well. Just trying to trade with Queen HP at the front. That is really, really bad. And does Clem know about the Roaches at all either? No, he didn't even see the gas, so he has no idea how much gas is being mined. As the Reapers swoop around the left-hand side, the Roaches are already moving through the middle of the map. Oh no. Are you going to die? He's going to start making Hellions, which is probably the worst thing he can make. He's going to see the Roaches now. Well, this barracks needs to go back to a reactor, I think. Yeah. Like I say, that's like the worst thing that can happen. He's going to build a... I mean, this is just going to be horrible. I mean, never mind later in the game what this SimCity means with taking gases and stuff, but... Oh no, this is not good at all. The bunkers are very late. But at least they're on the way. Already 3-4 Ravagers. Plus the Lings coming in behind this. So he absolutely just wants to bust the front. He's going to get a Reaper kill right away. That grenade's too far out. I think Clem might just be dead, guys. A very interesting build order choice, but... really just goes against him, to be honest. There's the, racks lifting up, exactly like I suggested. You know, this idea of, well, you know, you can harass the buildings and delay an add-on or so. Well, this is actually just straight up delaying production when you might need units to actually survive this. Dog, are we going to start building drones behind this, or do we really believe we can just commit through for a full-on victory? Because do you actually think it's possible you can just keep on storming Lings in here and win this? There's probably a point where you force the Terran onto one base, and so it's pointless to keep making Lings, but I think for now you just make as many units as you can. He's going to actually kill a barracks. And he saves that Ravager as well. As the Lings are going to swoop in, of course, there's no wall on the high ground. So that means that if you do break the natural, you can go into the main base as well. So there's no way to actually hold the main if you don't hold the natural, and that means Dog is going to win Clem's Mac pick and Clem's server pick. That is really, really bad. This is really bad for Clem. Down 0-2. All the odds stacked against him going into game 3. And that just, I mean, it was just, I mean, okay. You can obviously claim it was the build, but it was also the execution. Because losing a Reaper immediately makes this less powerful. Would one more Reaper have changed things? Maybe he's confident enough to go into the mineral line, and then he sees the Roach roaring in the gases, and then he has a better preparation back at home for an attack like this one. And then it's completely different. The factory builds a tech lab straight away. The Cyclone is so much sooner. It can be a completely different kind of game. You've got a few more Marines out because he never took the barracks off that reactor. Yeah, the build is weird, but I'm sure he wouldn't do this build if it just died to this every single time. I think losing this one Reaper over here was so influential on just everything else that followed. GG's Doc taking a 2-0 lead and looking fantastic while doing so. I'm just going to be seeing in the bottom left-hand side our red Zerg player. It is Doc on a 2-0 lead. Top right, our blue Terran player will be Team Liquid's Clem. Now, shouldn't be all doom and gloom. I think Clem actually played a very good game on Glitter and Ashes for a certain amount of time, especially early on. He got into some good positions. I feel like he was in a good place. I actually really liked it for Clem to begin with. Obviously, it just got to that stage where Lurkers got out, and from there, the game really did change. You know, from there, it was a very different game, but Hardwire is a map where you can do things a little bit better, and some of your bases are easier to hold on to. That forward base that he was trying to hold on Glittering, it doesn't exist on this map, right? So it wouldn't be as easy as Dog, for Dog to bust in, deny the economy of Clem. So these are some of the positives of Clem. This is a better map. There's a reason Dog picked Glitter and Ashes over Hardwire as map number 1. And while this is still a Zerg map pick, I think Clem can kind of keep his chin up and say, well, look, I did well enough on Glitter and Ashes. That was really the map that was stacked against me. Let's try and get it done now on Hardwire. Then I get my own server and map for map number 4. And then the last map is probably like, I mean, Dark likes to veto Curious Minds, so probably Blackburn map 4, 2K Atmospheres map 5, at a guess. So then Clem can just say, cool. Then I'm very happy to play that kind of style. Or maybe Clem even thinks about the server and map order and says, well, maybe I pick 2K for map 4, a bit worse for Roaches, Blackburn a bit better for Roaches, and then at least he doesn't get to play Roaches on a better Roach map on a, his server, which would be better for playing Roaches on when he's got worse ping, right? So maybe there's some mind games there. Anyways, we'll see what the maps are if we get to them. For now, I'm going to open Reactor first, so a little bit different once more. Going to bypass the Reaper. Always feels crazy when Clem bypasses a Reaper. It's like, well, you're so good with the Reaper. But it's good to mix it up, get a few Marines out early, and I wonder what kind of an attack this leads us into. Usually when you go Reactor first, you get a lot of Marines very quick, then you go into Hellions, and that means you can have a lot of Marines to actually power up a Hellbat attack with, for example. So definitely a few options there. There's a couple of Queens continuing out from the main and natural. Feelings on the way from Dark, pretty standard opening for the first 2.5 minutes. And, well, he makes himself just 4 Zerglings, so 4 Lings to go across the map, and obviously with no Reaper, they will go across the map just to scout what's going on a bit, see if they can get anything done. This Overlord right now is trying to take these Marines out somewhere funky, and Marines likely do get this kill, because if it goes up into the main, then of course the new Marines can be there. But the Marines pull back, they're afraid of something like those Zerglings showing up. They would much rather be at home safe than, running a risk. We'll see off the back of this reactor first. As I mentioned, we're going to go Starport. It does really keep you open to the opportunity of maybe going Hellbats. The other chance here is to say, okay, he's going to make more Marines. And the more he does this, the more I really believe it will be Hellbats, as one Ling is going to go for an SCV. Dark only sent one in initially. Now he's got the Marines on the low ground. He's going to bring the others through. Slight misclick from Clem on these rocks, but not really influential, as the Marines continue to chase these Zerglings out of here. Hellions continue to come through. Ling speed is about halfway done. Hellions continue out down to the bottom side. Just going to see one Ling already being picked off. The other couple of Lings getting chased down as well. So just going to be seeing another one of those picked off too. Armory on the way up. Spinecrawler is building. Yeah, I mean, this has been obvious. It's been a Hellbat attack from the start in my eyes. And I would be surprised if Dark wasn't somewhat assuming the same, hence the Spinecrawler. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, almost just too obvious. Nice supply block from Clem's point of view, though. He just supply blocks Dark, and that means he's not building units at somewhat of a crucial timing here. Liberator on the follow-up, and we just continue across the map. Well, a spine is in the natural, so if you go for the third base, there's not going to be a spine there, but obviously if you go for the third base, then Dark's not going to have any drones there, so what do you really want to try and get done? He doesn't loop back around for that creep tumor. There's a Ling counterattack coming. One of the deadliest things you can do right now is to hit a counterattack while these Hellbats are all across the map, and there's no units at home from Clem. If you start to kill a few SCVs during this attack, it basically doesn't matter what this attack does. You're going to be fine as the Zerg. Now, the Hellion pops out at the right time to help out with this. The second one will be out in a moment as well. Clem realizes there's a Spinecrawler, so he pulls back. His Hellions will start to deal with this, but he's the one losing SCVs. Medevac goes down across the map. The Queen goes down. And Clem, in my eyes, is already in trouble. You know, he's going to try and work around this hatchery and put some damage onto it. Force the Queens to come and fight it here as well as he tries to clump up as the Lings run in. The Lings do go down, but I mean, like I say, 4 SCVs went down across the map. It's not a ton, but it just pushes Clem further away. It makes up for Dark having to make a lot of Lings here. It's not like Clem does damage on top of this himself, so Dark hits the very, very usual and regular attack timing. Now Liberator showing up for a few drones, so at least is able to start getting some damage on himself as the couple of Evolution Chambers will be coming down in the back of this main. These few Marines and a couple Hellbats will get rid of some Zerglings, so those will continue to fall, and these Lings will continue down to the bottom right corner as well. Liberator here is actually taking down Queens as Dark makes a mistake. That's another mistake. That's a late pull away, and Clem then target fires for one more drone. Knows the Liberator is going to die, but he honestly gets 2 Queens. It's pretty nice. Getting rid of Queens right there, and again, obviously the drones on top of it. Obviously, last game I talked about the retention of units from Clem, or not last game, but it was Glitter and Ashes, right? But, you know, in this series I've talked about how good he is at retaining units. Well, this Liberator wasn't retained, but it was a conscious decision saying, yeah, I'm actually going to get Queen kills, and I'm getting Link, and getting an extra drone or 2. I'm okay with that, you know, I'm happy to make that trade out. The Lings are running from the upper right, Marines and Hellbats already getting caught, surrounded, and that pretty much is going to be a cleanup as well as the 1-1 melee upgrades come through on the Evolution Chambers. Things continue out to the upper side. SCVs still producing our 3rd CC. Should be morphing into an orbital. We'll be doing that soon. Even cancels the SCV. Are we going to float it out and then morph it into an orbital? Always interesting to float then orbital. It's not like he's oversaturated per se, and I don't know. I always feel as though orbital. I mean, in some situations, say he has like 8 extra workers on this base already. Then obviously I like moving the CC over ASAP. But in this case, I don't think he was in a rush to actually move the CC across, so a little bit surprised by that as the Lings run forward. Just going to go for the CC and just put some damage on it. As the lair starts up from Dark, going to see our 4th hatchery coming up as well. And our Medevacs just continue now down to the bottom left-hand side. SCV is mining away. 1-1 upgrades continuing through. Combat Shield is coming up. And the Lings of Dark back around the right side. Just going to be seeing more of these Marines unloading over on the left. And maybe going to go Overlord hunting. The Overlord right here could maybe be picked off as our Lings run through. SCVs being picked away at. Marines is going to go straight into the natural. That feels kind of undefended. And I don't think Clem got a hot start to this game, but that was maybe an opportunity to step back in it a bit. And to be fair, you know, I look overall and I'm like, well, the start was not great, no, but, you know, the worker counts within 4. Dark's army supply is low. He's got money he's not spending in the bank. I mean, he's about to hit less, so he's going to start 2-2. He's going to start Bane speed, so maybe the money in the bank shouldn't be considered. He actually doesn't have the money to start Bane speed and 2-2, so he's got the minerals, just not the gas. He starts +2 melee, probably +2 carapace shortly, and he gets a little bit more gas in the bank. Obviously, his upgrade's a little bit ahead of Clem's, who starts to push down this right-hand side. Will put some pressure onto this forward base. Over the creep spread already being cleared out as Lings out to the middle of the map as well. Push on forward. Marines and Hellbats coming through. Now Lings coming around the other side. Just going to be having the Medevacs loading up and just going to take them over to the right. And that is going to be just a defense at the moment from Dark. He immediately counterattacks as well. Your units are off to the right now. Surely I've got some space over here. It's actually interesting because as he runs in, yes, it's undefended. Clem's got units moving over, but they're taking a while. It could have been a quicker response for sure. But these Lings have no way out. Like, they just have to fight their way out because this is a wall off on the other side of this. So, unfortunately for Clem, this is going way better for Dark than I thought it would. I really think he just responded late. Quite frankly, I really believe he just responded very late here. He absolutely could have had these units moving forward a bit sooner. The SCV's pulling back this way a little faster. He's obviously looking at something else. I mean, it's just painful, though, because that's a lot of SCVs. And, I mean, I just never in my life would have imagined 18 SCVs would die in this attack. And that so many of the Marines would go down, too. Like, Clem lost a chunk of army there as well. Resources lost is even. Clem does have an army supply lead right now. And that is because, obviously, Doc traded off a lot of Lings, mostly for workers. So, absolutely a factor as that creep teamers continue to fall. Widowmine's burrowing up at the front. Just going to see the couple of libs continuing through. And now just a stem forward here once again. Our Widowmine's continuing to burrow. As one fires up on a morphing Baneling. Baneling gets target fired there. Widowmine's connecting decently. Spinecrawler doesn't quite go down, but the Widowmines are going to help Clem a lot. If only this run by wasn't already ruining Clem's follow-up. I mean, 10 SCVs going down once more. Clem had some really good Widowmines there. He needs to take advantage of that surely and go in and get this base. Looks like he will be able to get the base at least. There'll be a small amount of time where there'll be an upgrade lead for Dark, so Clem might have to be cautious over that. As we continue forward, see we do knock down a depot over at the front. Just going to be seeing the Widowmines continue to pull back as well. Just going to be seeing this army looping back around the top and just going to make a move forwards. Widowmines continuing to burrow and just seeing a few Lings still going down. Overlord is being picked away at. Libs will continue to siege. A lot more Lings up around the top side as we go around the left and maybe a chance to stem on forwards. Bottom right side, a hatchery continuing through. These Lings, again, going to get through. This third base is an issue, right? I mean, yeah, you've got this wall off here, but Dark's not going from that angle anyway. Clem is going to get another base. He's going to have Dark down to only 3 bases. Definitely a problem. He will be able to go to 4 bases himself, albeit on a low SCV count. As Clem still has the army supply lead. Moving forward right now, Widowmines on these Lings. Going to start putting some damage out, finally. The Marines actually dropped back down into this, but obviously they weren't all unloaded at once because he had to lift up into the medevacs to be safe. Now he'll hop to the high ground, it would seem. But there's no way you're going to drop there with the Lings already in position. It's kind of funny that this was just run by after run by from the front through to the third base. Almost feels like Clem's defending the wrong place, actually. You know, because Clem's defending the run into his natural, but that actually leaves the third open. It feels like he needed to have, like, something here to stop all these run-bys. Not here. Like, maybe make a couple of depots here and sit your units in the choke point between those. If you want to sit them in a choke point, which makes sense, yes. It just feels like rallying into the natural wall there has actually done nothing but hurt Clem. Because he's assumed his third base is safe from this wall off, but Dark has just constantly abused this space here, around this corner, straight into that third mineral line. He's abused that repeatedly. Command Center drops down on the top side. Liberator will siege up. These 3 Marines pressing forward. Lings taking damage. +3 melee on the way in on the Evo. Improved Spines coming up on the Hydra Den as well. It's just going to be having a couple of Widowmines continuing up in production. +3 attack on the Engineering Bay. Also coming through as our Liberator moves out around the right side. Ling Bane continuing up. Well, kind of a fun game. You know, actually, we're getting a little bit wild here. Clem's still down on SCVs, but still leads on army. Once again, we're getting to that point. Hydras are out. Lurkaden should be coming in soon. Dark's even gone straight towards 3-3 upgrades and Adrenal Glands. He'll have those Hive upgrades for the Ling Bane coming through shortly as friendly fire on the Medevacs is hurting them a bit, and they are getting to low HPs. That's a lot of Lings, though, and probably going to have to pull back from that. A lot of Clem's supply is at home, Libs and Widowmines defending bases, so when it actually comes to this army out here, it's not really an overwhelming amount of Marines against these Lings. So these Lings really can do very, very well. Going back a little bit, Widowmine just burrows up. Just going to be seeing the rest of this army backing up a little bit. A step or two. Extra barracks all coming in, +3 attack upgrade coming online. And Marines thinking about maybe a push down to the south side at the moment. Clem being continuing through. Muscular Augments is on the way in. Adrenal Gland still coming up. A couple of Liberators will be sieging on the right side. Our Marines wanting to press forward. More Lings up the right-hand side as well. Continue to press pressure down right there as a few more Zerglings continuing to fall. A few STVs or a few drones going down. Just going to see a lot of units maybe wanting to push on forward here with this as Marines will continue through. Widow Mine shot going to hit a few Zerglings already. A few more Widow Mines just going to hit Marines. The Lings are already dead that were on them. And a counterattack heading up the top side of the map from Dark. Again, a little bit worried for Clem. He does get a lift on this depot, but he's got nothing really nearby. If these mines don't go off, the Libs will just take a while to kill these Lings. They're going to get a lot of SCVs no matter what, I guess. Running around the Widow Mines has bought Clem some time to get back home, and so you will be able to deal with this, but Dark has just been so consistent with these run-bys, and he's exposed this location here repeatedly. A couple more CCs coming through, a couple Widow Mines not doing much. The Liberator's left behind. One of the two falls, the Widow Mine as well. I think Clem's in some trouble, guys. Like, his army supply is still okay, and he needs to get out of a supply block. He is moving forward to a 5th base, but I just feel as though, I mean, the only thing that I feel like would be much more scary for Clem right now is if Dark had actually made a lurk done already, but I suppose he's not being super comfortable either. We'll take a fight here. This might be okay for Clem. It's going to be off creep as the Banes, though, are starting to reach these Marines, and oh no, Clem! Oh. Okay, well, I will retract my statement of starting to feel a bit more confident for Clem. He is absolutely dead now, right? I was starting to speak and I was like, well, actually, do I hate it for Clem? Like, the 5th base is moving out. You know, okay, his army's maybe not super scary. There's no lurker den down. I was beginning to convince myself that it was okay for Clem, actually. And then the Banelings just roll into the center of that army and blow up everything. And Dark is going to give us a ZvZ finals against Rogue here in the WardiTV Christmas Day games with another 3-0 sweep of Clem. Clem showed a lot of promise in these games. I think a couple of issues he could absolutely resolve very easily. Rallying units here, maybe a couple of depots here, rally them into that choke point or something, rather than defending the natural. Because then you still defend the natural as well, and you defend that 3rd run by. I think Game 1 was very hopeful, and obviously Game 2 was a bit of a mistake, but considering he went on and beat Dark in an Alimo League like a few days after this convincingly, I think Clem kind of knows what he needs to work on and is definitely moving in the right sort of a direction in his TVZ once again. I don't think this game should have ended here, actually. I think they should have gotten up to Ghost versus Lurkers and stuff, but unfortunately it doesn't happen, and Dark gets the 3-0 to wrap up this semi-finals.